How dare you? All right, so
We were talking about the other day.
if we could connect part one, we're back. If not, this is just going to be its own episode. Start, or we'll probably record an intro. But
Back to Burning Man.
Joe Sale,
Yeah.
power photographer,
Good to be here.
and we were talking about how to be a professional photographer, and you were getting into the zone to drop some knowledge about Magnum, the Magnum agency. You know, what's your peak as a photographer nowadays? Pick it up, I guess. I don't even know where you left off because I was so
Yeah.
worried about our tech issues.
Well, I got into photography late. I never studied it as a kid. I never studied it at college. At the age of 35, I picked up a camera, and that's how I got into it. So, the last 4 years have been a really strong learning experience for me. But during that time, I've studied a lot of what has made people famous in the world of photography. And Henry Cartier-Bresson is one of the most well-known, famous photographers. He's a French photographer. And he used to do a lot of press photography, and he started his own agency called Magnum Photos. And even though he's no longer around, Magnum Photos is a very strong agency where they probably have 100, I don't know the exact number, but they probably have 100 photographers on staff. And, back 10, 15 years ago, if you worked for Life magazine, like you were, or National Geographic, you were a pinnacle, you were at the top of the photography world. And now there's people that line up to submit their work to Magnum Photos because that is a certain level of prestige where if you make it to that point, you've reached the pinnacle of your photography career, and there's only so much more that you can do. But there's people that work there for 30, 40 years, and that's what they're known for. And they send photographers out to areas of conflict, and then they sell the images to other press organizations.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very strong agency. I think it's still out of France, if I'm not mistaken, but they have offices in the United States too. But for me, that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. Like I need to get to a certain point in my career. I can't rush it. I still have to build a body of work, and I still need to work hard every day to kind of earn enough to where I can continue to create and do things that I want to do, but still trying to figure out what I want to be known for in the photography world.
Like, what kind of specific example of like an individual photographer doing something unique that kind of sets them apart? I'm just trying to figure that out. Like, what could they be doing that's so special?
Well, you have photographers that they do more humanitarian stuff. There's a photographer out of Nashville, and I always forget his name. Jeremy Cowart is his name, Cowart. And, he's shot like Garth Brooks album covers. He has a studio in Nashville or just outside of Nashville. But he'll go to areas of conflict. So when they had the wildfires in Tennessee, he would go out and do these beautiful aerial photos of somebody's estate that has now been burnt to the ground. There's literally nothing there except for a bathtub and maybe a wall or two. But he would bring a brand new white mattress out and have the family lay on the mattress and fly a drone straight overhead and take a shot down. And then he would tell that person's or that family's story and help create a GoFundMe account for them. So he's helping people through his photography and telling a story, but also doing something to where he's helping those people and raising awareness for something. And
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, he was just down in Florida. He did something, for Hurricane Irma. He was down near the Keys and in the Everglades, and he did some long exposure stuff. So Jeremy Cowart's one of those guys, really doing unique stuff. I'm a big fan of, there's so many photographers out there that are just doing great things, but
So you had mentioned that you were talking about, taking your photography to the next level by also helping others. What did you have in mind?
Well, last year I was introduced to somebody who was struggling with cancer. Her name's Solaria. She was diagnosed with leukemia, and when I met her, she had just gone through this extreme kind of test procedure to she had 97% leukemia in her blood cells, and she had just gone through this procedure to get that down to 7%. And then she was going into chemo to get that knocked down to 0.
Mm-hmm.
And I did the shoot with her when she was at the 7%. She had no hair. I didn't charge her a single penny. I couldn't. I mean, from the moment I met her, this woman had such a beautiful personality, so upbeat, so positive, so happy just to be here and be alive. Like, she even got into nursing when she found out she had cancer so that she can help other people.
Wow.
And she's close to 60 years old. So, I mean, she's almost at the retirement age, and yet she's still out there trying to do what she can to help other people. And so we did a beautiful shoot together, some really kind of creative portraits that kind of show some emotions. And I would like to do more of that to where I can share her story and help bring some awareness to, leukemia, or do some fundraising for that. But I had reached out to her when I got back from Burning Man, probably about 6 months after our shoot. And I was like, Solaria, I just want to follow up with you. I was asked to write a piece for a magazine, and I want to write about you, and I want to share some of the photos that we did. And she got back to me immediately, and she was like, Joe, can we do a shoot tomorrow? Because I have to go back into the hospital on Sunday. And so the cancer had come back, and that was on a Friday. And on Saturday, we went out and did a sunset shoot out on the beach. And, her hair had grown back. She was doing so well. She met the love of her life. Like, so many positive things have gone on in her life. And then all of a sudden, she was told that she had to go back and do another round of chemo because the cancer was back. So that was 3 weeks ago. She's doing better now. But just the ability to kind of do those things. Like, I'm not making money doing that as a photographer, but that's kind of what you have to do to make a name for yourself is.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're using your gift
Right.
as a medium to get other people, and helping them at the same time.
And
It's
you're like,
awesome.
your compass is like, I don't know what this is going to do for me. Like, or like the business, or if anything, I know it's in the right direction. I feel like I have to do a lot of that and go like, I don't know what, like, we found out with a lot of lawyer clients, they do a lot of work for free that no one knows about.
Right.
With a lot of services, businesses, they do a lot of work for free, or like that they don't even have a client on the other side to pay for, right?
Right.
But the people I feel like are successful, like, they may not be able to articulate it in a way that, like, I know this is going to make money one day because of X, Y, and Z, but it's in the right direction. Like, like, for instance, I did stand up I started when I was 21, and I was really bad about doing crowd work, and it scared me, and it's tough to do, and especially when you're early 20s, you don't know shit about anything. Like, I'm
get destroyed.
right, and I had a pretty vanilla background, so it's like, it's not like I had some kind of struggle stuff to talk about,
right,
like a lot of my other comedian buddies. So I was like, look, I'm gonna go take improv classes to get better at this. I don't know what it's gonna help.
Yeah.
I think it'll help that, but I know it's in the right direction. I know taking a sketch writing class is in the right direction, even though I don't want to do that.
Well, yeah, you're furthering your craft, and like over the first 3-4 years of photography, like I said, I'm a single guy. I do enjoy working with models and doing those beauty portraits and like, but there's really no story behind that. I mean, it's a beautiful girl. She's wearing a unique outfit. She's posing, and it's on a white background, or it's a shot on location, but it's really just about the pretty girl in the clothes. Like, I mean, there's no story there. But then you take a close-up headshot of a woman with no hair, and she's got the most sincere look in her face. And you take that picture and you post it, and it gets more likes than a half-naked woman because you're telling a story. You're helping somebody, but at the same time, there's something way more powerful about that.
Sure.
And that's something I learned in year 4 of my photography career. So I learn every day that what I've done in the past, it's not necessarily wrong. It's all been a learning experience, and shooting that model a certain way on the background, like, it's all about the lighting. It's all about creating a background or creating a set. All of that helped me get to the point where I can shoot this woman in a bed of flowers with her chemo port sticking out of her arm. Like, all these things are just like, it all brings you to a point where now you know what you want to do. And you just have to have the resources to be able to do that for people, and that's what I do. I try to work every day with my commercial clients who pay $250, $300 for a headshot. I use that money to pay the bills, but then I also use that money to help try to do other things for people that can't necessarily afford to do it on their own.
If anybody's listening to this that is one of your clients and they're like, hey, what the fuck, I'm getting ripped off, that's bullshit, because every business runs that way.
Yeah.
Like, there's always some kind of comps or freebies or community giving that it evens out the profit margin at 30 or whatever.
If you're getting pissed about the person with leukemia, then they're kind of a dick.
Yeah, they're dicks.
Well, but you got to most business owners think pictures shouldn't cost that much, and it's like, especially because he's so efficient. In a way, in their brain, it makes them be like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, we just did a website under a day,
right?
Like, got it back for someone,
yeah.
And I'm worried we give it back too early. They're gonna be like, oh, I overpaid because this is too easy for you.
Well, that's why I stand in my kitchen when my wife's home when I work, so that it makes it look like I'm working harder.
Yeah,
can't be sitting on the couch, lazy ass.
I know. I want drop cams on us working on the thing.
I know.
Like, so it's just like, here's the live feed of the whole thing. Here's our Twitch TV.
Not my
of this.
fantasy football.
Yeah, I mean, like when it comes to the commercial photography stuff too, like it is hard to justify with somebody who doesn't understand the power of a professional headshot. I mean, if you're in real estate and you have a cell phone picture of your face and that's your LinkedIn profile or that's on your website or your business card, you're going to look like a clown. But if you have a professional, well-lit...
Yeah, I need to get some headshot.
Yeah, I'll give you some headshots. Work.
Yeah, we'll hook that up.
You're going to get more business from it. So
like clown business.
So a $300 headshot session, will ultimately end up getting you more business and make you look at a certain level of professionalism that most people don't even have or acquire desire to have.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be pretty crafty to get a really good iPhone shot of yourself to make it, and even then it's not going to have the eye. Like, it's not what you talked about.
You could tell a professional picture like immediately. It's not, most people can't tell why that is better looking.
Style and tone.
But I can that's better.
Well, and so the more we do the creative side and really try to analyze it, and how internally we're analyzing a lot, like, how do you value creative in a way that we can kind of explain it to the math side, the business only kind of people that they don't get it, they downplay it, and we talk about it. The more we get into it, we don't have that answer yet, but the more we get into it, it's all storytelling. Like, all creative is just storytelling, but it's, some are short, some are, even ads. Geico does a great job of getting like a quick story in
15 seconds,
even less, 5-second interstitial ads.
Yeah.
And so, like, people rag on Geico, and I'm like, I don't know, whoever is doing their shit to me is like kind of the best team, because they can get it to a broad audience. It's somewhat witty, and it if you can tell a story in 5 seconds, that's pretty amazing.
See, I think Geico must have like 5 different teams, because they have certain like distinct, like, not nearly as funny ones, but some of them
they have different
great
campaigns for sure. Like,
yeah,
but like there's the distinct,
probably
like,
more of a distinct audience like that they're looking for.
Yeah, they also have a gigantic budget, where they're probably spending I wouldn't even gather to guess, maybe $500,000 a week on radio ads alone.
Sure. Oh, sure.
And then all of these online, promoted posts. I mean, that's probably another $300,000-$400,000 a week, or if not a day, that they're spending. I mean, think about it. Like,
I could probably find out.
Yeah, I mean, you see everywhere you go.
We've
Geico,
got some software to figure that out.
Or Progressive.
Actually,
or wherever.
you know
just
what?
ruined his afternoon.
You know what? Facebook ads now, they're showing. This is a little fun fact. I like giving tidbits that I find out throughout the week. Facebook ads, they're trying something where they it's transparent. Yeah. So if you go on their page, you might be able to see how much they're spending per day.
Yeah. Thanks, Russia.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's the Russia backlash.
I'll bet it is.
Here's the fucked up thing. It's only for about half the pages. So, like, our podcast may have it and our business one doesn't. It's weird.
That is, I don't know if I like that.
Because they claim it's testing.
Oh.
But now you have a problem with why'd you pick this and not this kind of thing.
Yeah, but you take that correlation, like Geico's spending a certain amount of money just on ads, and those ads are either short videos. They don't really do much in still photography, maybe in some magazines and whatnot, but they're taking that money and gaining a certain number of new clients. So if you break that down, even on a level of just, you have a new headshot, you post that new headshot on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, somebody's going to see it. Someone's going to say, hey, my friend Jane, she's a realtor. So it's going to lead to more business, and $300 for a headshot is nothing. I mean, there's photographers that'll charge less, there's photographers that'll charge more. So for me, I just try to find my sweet spot and work with people who want to work with me, and then try to deliver something that nobody else can do.
And you don't fuck around. You send the pictures as quick as you can, which is like, God, we talked about this with, he has a video production company with his buddy. And like, we were talking about like, how do you flip around that video quicker? Why does it take 2 months to get a wedding video? Like,
Yeah.
There should be a process to make that quick.
Yeah, video is a lot harder than stills. I mean,
Sure.
there's a lot
Right.
of editing, but
2 months.
There's a lot more. There's creative in the edit. A lot more creative thought that goes into the editing of video than necessarily a photo.
yeah,
I agree.
So that's part of it.
I agree. You literally are telling the story through editing, but I'm saying the 2 months I'm saying is for like shitty editing still for
Right,
a lot of
yeah,
people. Like
yeah.
it's like it took you 2 months to do. I could do this on iMovie.
Yeah, people
like,
have no idea.
yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
I hear nightmare stories. People are like, it's taken 3 weeks for me just to get a handful of images from our shoot. And for me, if it's fresh in my head, I want to get it out. Like
Yeah, that
it's
can be
fresh.
huge.
I can go do a shoot, upload the photos to Lightroom, do some initial edits, upload them to Dropbox, deliver them to the client in an hour or two, and I'm done at that point.
Yeah.
And I don't do retouching on my own. I don't know Photoshop. I don't do it. It would take me years to get to a proficient level to where I feel comfortable doing it. So I have a team of retouchers. So on a headshot session, you pick out your top 3 or 4 images that you want me to work with. I'll have those retouched. I'll send them to you in 24 hours, and we're done. Like, there's no reason to extend it.
And even without you maybe even consciously knowing it and just trying to have that good workflow, it creates a better client experience. I'll say from my side personally, like you go in and take pictures, and you showed it to me, on the screen on the camera, but when you send them like within 3 days or whatever, it gets you kind of excited about it. When you have to wait 2 weeks to get them, even if they're not the retouched ones, I think it creates this weird gap.
I forgot about those.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like I think people get really excited to get those pictures back, within a timely manner, and it catches them at their peak of excited about your business.
Yeah. Well, I almost always try to do it within 24 hours. I mean, even, for instance, there's a local charity called On Bikes.
Yeah.
And on Wednesday, they had the bike build where they built 800 bikes. I was there from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. shooting stills, time lapse, just working my ass off all day for a charity because I believe in what they do. And I stayed up till 2 a.m. I got them over 150 images that they could use on social media right away on that same day. And then I delivered the rest of them the next morning. So, they have the content that's relevant to their business or their charity in this case, but they have that content. It's fresh. Like why if you post it 3 weeks from now, no one's going to care. Like it's
there's like that when you do go away from it and you have that reevaluate, like when you go back to it and you're looking at it, you're like, okay, what was I going to do here? Like that whole phase
The
is
reset,
that kills. It's like, okay, and then you might not even be going the direction you wanted to go in. But that's what I find that I'm fighting all the time if I'm coming back to it.
Especially, we're working on that with like website development for us is like it's not
too.
good to chop up. Even though we're working on like being able to kind of look at it like a doctor's, like a doctor can do
chart.
rounds and look at the chart and go, here's where we're at. We're doing that part because that's important to scale. But as far as actually doing the work, it doesn't behoove us to like be so choppy in that process. So we've been figuring that out the hard way. But at the same time, it's like, I try to explain to clients, it's like, I don't want to. It does work better because you show so much short-term memory, and I'm sure you do on the post of taking photos or any video you shoot that you want to keep it fresh, and you already have these ideas. Even if you write them down, when you go back and look at them, there's something disconnected.
Yeah, you write the one word, you're like, I'll remember what that means.
Right, tuna
Right,
fish.
like, I have no idea.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and some things take longer than others to be, extra special. They take a lot more work, and I think on the image side, if it's not anything super creative or if it's not anything that is super moving, you shouldn't think too much about it. You just make it look its best and deliver it to the client. And then if there's something that needs to be done more, then you can do that. You can do revisions and whatnot. But for me as a photographer, I mean, I hear that other people take 3 weeks to deliver images. And that's one thing for a wedding, when you have a couple thousand images from a single event.
Sure.
I get that. But if I were to shoot weddings, which I don't, the only wedding I've ever shot was at Burning Man, and it'll probably be that way. But I don't know that I would.
Wise man.
Yeah, I don't know that I would shoot a traditional wedding and have 3,000 images on 2 different cameras, and then have to go through and really kind of go through and edit all of them. Even if I did, I would try to do that within 48 hours, and it's entirely doable. But unless you have another wedding the next day, which some people do, but
Yeah.
not for me.
Well, I mean, it's all process. Like they got into it, and you just figure out how to get better, and it's not as frustrating, but it's still tough. It's very client oriented.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I learn something new on every shoot, and I try to apply that to the next shoot every time. And it's just like I still make mistakes. I hope I continue to make mistakes, but sometimes those mistakes actually turn into a more memorable photograph. And whether you drag your shutter or the lighting is different, one of the flashes didn't fire, it could turn into more of a dramatic picture. So sometimes you get lucky in those regards, but a lot of the times it just boils down to just doing what you think is right and getting it done for your client as soon as possible, and then move on to the next project.
I like that, not overthinking the not simple stuff, but like basic, not trying to reinvent the wheel or whatever. I think a lot of people who edit or whatever, they tinker and tinker and tinker, and it's like, dude, what are we even looking at anymore? It completely changes the dynamic of what it was.
And some images they're not salvageable. Like just delete, move on, or reshoot it.
It's hard to do. Yeah. Hard to do. It's your baby.
Well, I hope we salvage the first half of this because it was good. And if we try to ask you the same questions of what we talked about in the beginning,
we're not going to get that magic again.
Right. We talk about it like save it for the pod. We'll talk about stuff and it's like save it for on air because it just won't become authentic. But the last thing I want to ask you about, and we can cut it out too, is is the music festival stuff. Controversy of sorts, which to me wasn't a big deal at all. You just got kind of
railroaded.
You got railroaded pretty bad. Do you know?
I hadn't heard about this. No, I'm excited to hear it.
Do you want me to kind of set the table?
You can set the table.
I'll try the best I can. So we have Tampa has the Gasparilla Music Fest. It's kind of been around about 5-6 years or something like that, and it's become an outdoor festival downtown Tampa. Kind of the bigger one in Tampa, really.
Coming up in March.
Yep. And it's a good time. We're friendly with that group that puts it on. We
went to high school with several of the people on the board.
Yeah, and I want to see it do well. But when I saw this, I was like, oh man, this is terrible. So Joe's out there taking photos, and
2-day festival, Saturday and Sunday.
Mm-hmm. And I guess there was an artist. Is it Bryan Adams? Because there's a Bryan Adams and there's a Ryan Adams, right?
That's correct.
And I'm like Old Man River. I forget which one's which. Ryan is the younger one that was there.
And
right?
you can say who. Most people do.
Bryan Adams he was from the 80s. Right.
I forgot his last part of his name is who at the end. But so Ryan Adams is on stage, and I guess you're taking photos. It's the daytime, right?
Right around sunset,
okay.
Yeah. And I was credentialed. I offered to I wanted to shoot. It's a 2-day event. I mean, I shot probably 14 different performances, and then Ryan Adams was closing out. Saturday night was Cage the Elephant. By far one of the most amazing live performances I've ever seen.
Sure.
Really?
Yeah.
They,
pretty sweet.
I like them.
Yeah. They allowed photographers in the pit. They allowed photographers in the crowd. And going into it, Ryan Adams was the only photographer or the only musician that had a special rider saying that, well, if you deliver the images and we don't give you credit, we're not reliable for that. So I'm like, screw it. I'll go ahead and sign it anyway. But there was no mention of any conditions that he has or any medical conditions or whatever. That would have been a perfect place to put it because every photographer had to read it and sign it. And there was no mention of any conditions that he has. But one of the conditions that he did have was that you can't shoot in the pit, which is the area between the stage and the crowd, and you can't shoot in the crowd. So the only place you can photograph his performance was past the soundstage.
Jeez.
So or the sound equipment in the middle. It's probably 500-600 feet back from the stage, and at that point I was just kind of pissed off. I'm like, man, I've photographed all these other performances. Like, I just want to get some good shots. I really didn't even know who he was. I mean, I knew the name, but not familiar with his work. So I was like, screw it. And he did have a big thing where it said no flashes. All of his security guards had no flash up by the stage. I prefaced by the stage, so when I get 500 feet back to the soundstage, there's a one of the lifts, like a cherry picker type lift where they have the spotlights, and they weren't being used for his set because it was sunset, it wasn't dark yet. So I asked the sound crew, hey, do you mind if I get up in that lift and get like an elevated crowd shot of the performance? So you get the stage, you get the crowd, you get the river in the background, you get University of Tampa, you get the sunset. Yeah. And I got a beautiful shot, but I was also using my flash. So, which would have zero effect on somebody on a stage 5, 6, 800 feet away, however it might be. But he's on stage, I'm 30 feet above the crowd using my flash. So that's the only thing he sees. Mm-hmm. And he decides to call me out for not using for using the flash. And
during his performance?
During the performance, which he even said, he's like, why are you guys having
video of this?
Yeah, I'm sure there is. But
I will be looking that up.
And he even said on stage, he's like, I have no idea why you guys want me here. I'm a sad musician that sings sad songs, and I'm closing out your festival. But here we go. And
wow,
this guy's just looking for trouble.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I mean, like literally the crowd. There was
dude. I can just imagine feeling so lonely on top of that cherry picker. Where
as soon as he
on display.
As soon as he called me out, I flicked him the bird, and
oh, good for you.
Yeah, I mean, like, come on, man.
What else are you gonna do?
Like, literally, you're gonna take time off. I'm not affecting you with my flash.
Yeah,
I'm using the flash to fill in the crowd immediately closer to me, not anywhere near the stage. And part of me was doing it on purpose anyway, just to kind of screw it. Yeah. Like, you made such a big deal not having photographers near the stage. I'm so far away from the stage, I'm going to use my flash.
It's not like anybody in the crowd's not using their flash with a phone. Like,
exactly.
Get out of here with
there
that.
Are plenty of people in the crowd doing the same thing. And,
that's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's
so many people that are just so bad with their phone, and it's defaulted.
It was just because he was raised up, and he could see the flash above the horizon or whatever.
Yeah. So he called me out. I flicked him off, and then
you didn't know what he was saying to you, right? Like he was saying like something like calling you an asshole.
He's like, yeah, that guy up there on the green thing using his flash or whatever, and that's when I flicked him off. And I knew it wasn't a positive thing that he was saying about me, so I didn't really care at that point. I mean, like, I didn't really know much about this dude. He can't be that great anyway. But I don't know. I decided to go to Twitter afterwards and be like, dude, like, you're an asshole. Like, you don't want photographers anywhere near the stage. How do you expect to get good photographs?
This is where you have the comics kind of mentality.
Yeah. And
I'm going to immediately say something back.
Real quick, right? One little tiny thing.
And then he writes back. He goes, hey, asshole, I have Meniere's disease. That's why I don't have flashes. And I'm like, oh,
you are the
okay.
asshole.
He said, okay, Ansel Adams, according to the paper.
Yeah.
Really?
Ansel Adams, yeah. And if he even knew what Ansel Adams did, then he probably wouldn't use that as a reference. But, I'm not big on Twitter anyway. I never knew really the wrath of what trolls are, and like Bryan Adams fans are apparently big on trolling, and I
would guess a super the liberal side, those like real crunchy people are actually, I think, real angry.
They're emo.
They're more angry than they get credit for.
Yeah, but I mean, people decide to knock you down for no reason, but they have 2 followers, and it's like their parents on Twitter, and it's like I don't need this shit in my life, so I deleted Twitter. I'm like, I don't, what purpose is even having it? And I still don't have it today. Like, it's.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to say I got 10,000 followers from that.
Well, I do on Instagram. Like, I mean, I got zero feedback on Instagram. So nobody even said anything to me about it on Instagram. I've got close to 10,000 followers on Instagram. I get a lot of work from Instagram. It's where I choose to share my work. But I just literally, I was just so over it. I just deleted Twitter. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with it. And, Bryan Adams, to this day, I could care less about. I don't listen to his music. I don't care to. I don't even know if he still makes music. I think he's most well known for dating Mandy Moore. Something like that.
Got me.
Sure.
Yeah. Sure. So, I don't know. It was a learning experience.
Well, we were going to have you on that next week, and I was like, yes, let's talk about that, because you're still fired up. Because the paper made it worse. Like, the paper took everybody took his side. The journalist. Basically,
well, what they said was,
without talking to him that much,
the organizer of Gasparilla Music Festival, and it's not the organizer, it was the lady who handles their press and PR, said that every photographer was made aware that Bryan Adams had Meniere's disease, which is categorically false. I mean, I had no idea, A, who he was, B, that he has a condition. I don't want to call it a disease, a condition. And, you know, it's one of those things where if you have seizures from flashes or from lights and you're on stage, which he's never had a seizure on stage, but he claims that it causes it. And, you know, it's just one of those
It's a bad line of work.
Yeah, like
for a performer.
wear sunglasses or, you know, like do it in the dark.
Be a studio guy.
Yeah.
Only.
I don't know. It was a good learning experience, and you know, one thing led to another. But the old adage, you know, any press is good press or bad press is good press. It kind of held true. The first couple of days were rough because you know nobody really reads the story; they just read the headlines and no flash at concerts. You know, every photographer should never use a flash at concerts. And I'm like, you know, I did that for 13 other performances. I used the flash on this performance for a certain reason, and I was nowhere near the stage. But nobody even takes that into account. And I was the only photographer to get on the lift, get 30 feet above the crowd, get that shot that includes the stage, the crowd, the river, the sunset. And, you know, I just...
So those photos themselves, the ones that you got raised up, what did you do with those?
Oh, I have them. I mean, I delivered them to Gasparilla Music Festival, and I can't wait for them to use them, and I'll sue them. Like,
that was my question, yeah.
But literally the crowd was not even that... It wasn't that full, so I mean, it would have been great if it was like a real like if Bryan Adams was there, then maybe the crowd would have been full, and you know, it would have been even a more powerful shot, and maybe we would have been able to photograph near the stage.
Play that Robin Hood soundtrack.
Yeah, like I mean, come on, man,
really?
Get over yourself.
Wasn't that him?
I have no idea. That's a deep pull.
I don't know, man. For me, as a photographer, I'm like, if I can't get access to something, then what's the point of even shooting it? So it wasn't even about shooting him. It was about shooting something for the group, Gasparilla Music Festival, which I wanted to work with them. I mean, I went to high school with most of the people that sit on the board, and I was like, hey man, this would be a great opportunity for me to work on my concert stuff. And even the guy who does all their social media wrote back, he's like, because they started using some of my images without credit after the story came out, and he goes, hey man, like I really don't know what's going on with your images or the story, but literally your images are the best. And I'm like, out of 12 photographers or 13 photographers that were there, I'm like, you know, that means a lot, but you still can't use them without credit because I worked for 2 days for free for you.
Yeah.
Like,
why don't you step up and stand up for me a little bit, and maybe we'll talk about
don't
it.
Throw somebody under the bus. And she went above and beyond to say not only did they notify me and everybody else that he had a condition, but they also went above and beyond and said that she would never recommend me to any of her friends or colleagues, or she would never work with me again. So there was some defamation there that, you know, some defamatory
comments. That was in the
paper? It was in the paper, yeah.
Jeez.
So, and then it got spread, you know how social media is. It got spread on all these other Facebook pages and news outlets, and the National Association of Press Photographers shared the story, and then you have all these press photographers saying, no flash at a concert, rule number 1. Like, no shit, assholes. Like, I get it. Read the story. Like, and they didn't read the story. So
yeah, the world of photography, I think, doesn't have a lot of controversial.
There's just plenty of assholes
who paparazzi.
They just like to knock down people because it's true. There are tons of photographers out there that just they do it in an amateurish way. And thank you for having Bryan Adams in the background. I love it. And not having Ryan Adams.
This makes me so happy that this is playing in the background while you're telling your story.
You could have put Stars Go Boom, and I would have been all right with that too. But
this was the Robin Hood one, though, right?
Bryan Kevin Adams, Costner Robin Hood?
Not Men in Tights.
I was like, Dave Chappelle?
So that was my first...
and this is Bryan Adams. Yeah. I'm just clarifying. Sorry.
And that was my first kind of foray into a negative press article about my work. And it really wasn't even about my work because, like I said, nobody else got that shot. And
it's procedural.
Yeah,
but you're legit now.
Yeah, I mean,
the bad boy.
Nobody's
of the photography world.
Nobody's talking about the other photographers that were there or their shots. So, I guess at the end of the day, it worked out. I mean, I'm not proud about it, but at the same time, like,
you didn't do anything wrong.
I didn't do anything wrong.
Nothing to be embarrassed about. He was a dick.
It
it could have been such an easy, like, oh, hey, you know, just so you know.
He's kind of known for that too. So,
well, there you go.
Yeah, I remember we talked on the phone that week because you wanted to come. I was like, come on, let's talk about it because. I think it's. I don't know many people that have had something kind of go viral incorrectly like that, you know. And so I wanted to hear about what was going on at the time, but we thought maybe potential litigation. So it was kind of like.
It just so happened one of our clients is a wonderful business attorney, and him and his wife decided that it wouldn't be great for me to go on and talk about it, and I did go on FM radio and talk about it with Drew Garabo in his show and just kind of explained it. And it's one of those things. But
I was gonna give you final cut. We could have cut out whatever.
We could, and I think I should have done it, but at the same time,
Nah.
I lost one client because of it, and I'm okay with that. Like
Call
if they're
them
that
out.
if they're that close-minded about it, and they read something in a paper, or they read the headline, or they see the negative stuff going on about it, then I don't want to work with that person anyway. So
Exactly.
Plus, I bet if y'all sat in a room together, you guys would probably get along. Like like it's that thing of like, well, man, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
under normal circumstances, how about that?
I
Like,
don't wear that much denim, so I don't know that I
I
get
gotta
along with.
see this guy now. Look at his stupid face.
all right, so
That's why he doesn't like photographers being close to the stage. He's not
okay.
very photogenic,
mm,
and he does wear double denim.
Oh.
all right, well, before our Mevo camera just completely fries, and we got another meeting coming in. Do your plugs again in case we didn't get it in the first half.
Sure. Just do a quick search for Joe Sale Photography, or Joe Sale. There he is. Or Joe Sale, SALE. And I own a studio here in Tampa called Tampa Image Factory. And if you go on Instagram or Facebook, not on Twitter, but if you go on Instagram and Facebook and look up Joe Sale or Tampa Image Factory, you'll be able to find me there.
I wonder if we're going to title this some clickbaity kind of thing.
Please don't. Jeez.
Controversy in all caps.
No, I think it's more about. I've got a couple of things I wrote down while we were talking, but I think we touched on, if we have that first half, we touched on pretty cool stuff. So appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, sure thing, man. And I just, Bryan Adams had a career before me. I had a career before Bryan Adams. I'll have one after. Like, it's not the end of the world. I don't want to be known as a photographer who is like a bull in a china store, which somebody characterized me as. But I am 6'2" and 240 pounds. Like, if I want a shot, I'm going to go after it and get it.
You're girthy, man.
You could be
yeah,
the
I
bad
am
boy of
girthy.
the photography world.
I'm fine with that.
Give yourself a persona.
Yeah. Well, there's Alan Henson. He's another famous photographer. He's the bad boy of photography.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, he's got bigger traps.
Yeah.
No. All right. Well,
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, guys.
For Joe, Eric, and Law, subscribe on iTunes. Tell your friends about this. Go to Warby Parker. Go to the link that we're going to put in the post. Go over there. Even if you're not getting glasses, it kind of helps us out. So just go click on the link so it comes from different IP addresses than ours. And subscribe on iTunes. We're on Spotify, I think. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube.
Laughable.
The Laughable app, so you can tag Eric or I if we ever do another podcast. Someone else's will show up in your feed, which iTunes doesn't have. So,
Nice.
all right,
Thank you.
peace.